Good evening, my Real News Midday TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update for April 11, 2024. And in the news this evening, JUTC operations resume after disruption over stabbing of bus driver. Operations have resumed on the Portmore to downtown Kingston route following a brief disruption on Thursday morning. JUTC drivers along the route withdrew their service after a colleague was injured on the job. Reports are that the male driver, while traveling to downtown Kingston, denied the request of passengers to stop in a non-designated area on Marcus Garvey Drive. A passenger then stabbed the driver in the left arm upon exiting. The driver was taken to the Kingston Public Hospital for treatment. The matter is being investigated by the police. Woman charged with the murder of Daniel Rowe remanded until May 16. Coyote Seychelles, the woman charged with the abduction and the murder of 8-year-old Daniel Rowe, has been remanded in custody until May 16 for plea and a case management hearing. When the matter was called up in the Home Circuit Court on Thursday morning, the prosecution told the court that it will be in a position to proceed to trial at the next hearing. Daniel was abducted from the Brayton Primary School in Portmore, St. Catherine on June 8 last year. She was later found wandering in the corporate area with a wound to her throat. Daniel died days later while being treated at hospital. Police appeal for Portmore Toll Road crash victims to collect belongings. Victims of today's bus crash along the Portmore Toll Road who left belongings at the scene are being advised to collect their items at the Police Public Safety and the Traffic Enforcement Branch. The police say several items, including school bags, were retrieved at the scene. The office is located on the compound of the Elliston Road Police Station at the 16 Lower Elliston Road, Kingston. Persons may also call 876-836-0270 or 876-928-1261. According to the police, about 7 a.m., a public passenger Toyota coaster bus was traveling along the roadway from Portmore to Kingston when, upon reaching the vicinity of the wharf, the vehicle veered to the left and crashed. The police say over 30 people, including several students who were passengers, received the injuries and were taken to hospital. Their injuries are not considered life-threatening at this time, according to the police. As the investigations continue, the belongings left at the scene, including school bags, have been secured and can be retrieved at the Public Safety and the Traffic Enforcement Branch. 3 charged in relation to Manchester bar robbery. The Christian police in Manchester have laid several charges against the 3 men who were held in relation to a robbery at a bar in Finegrass Shudley on Sunday. They are 23-year-old Joe Von Levy, otherwise called Joe of Sedberg, Asani Tolo, also known as Asani of Shieldsbush, and the 19-year-old Shamar Foster, also called TJ, of Ballynor in the parish. The men are charged with 3 counts of robbery with aggravation, 3 counts of unauthorized possession of ammunition, and the possession of prohibited weapon. The police reported that about 9 o'clock Sunday evening, 2 men, one armed with a firearm and the other with a crowbar, held up and robbed the patrons at a bar of an undetermined sum of cash, cell phones, liquor, and 3 poker machines with a combined value of more than $2 million. The men escaped in a waiting Toyota Voxy motor vehicle. The police were alerted and they managed to intercept the getaway car along the Sedberg Main Road. The vehicle was searched and 2 cellular phones were recovered. The men then led the police to an abandoned building in Hopewell, where a 9mm pistol with a magazine containing 3 rounds and other stolen items were recovered. Soldier charged after allegedly shooting at a woman. A soldier who allegedly fired a gun at a woman in the presence of a police team last July has been charged with several offenses following a ruling by the Director of Public Prosecutions. 32-year-old Rohan Green of Greentown District, Trelawney, is charged with shooting with intent, using a firearm to commit a felony, and assault occasioning actual bodily harm. The police say on July 31, 2023, the woman and the police team went to Green's home to make inquiries into a missing persons report. At the lawman's request, Green exited his house with his licensed firearm in hand. On seeing the woman, he reportedly rushed towards her shouting, after which he allegedly swung a piece of board at her, which caught a child. The police alleged that he then pointed the firearm at the woman and discharged one round. Green was taken into custody and subsequently charged following the ruling. A court date is being arranged for him. Julian Silvera bail application pushed back. The bail application for former parliamentarian Julian Silvera, who is accused of the murder of his wife, has been pushed back to May 2. The matter could not proceed today in the Home Circuit Court because the defense did not get full disclosure of documents in the case. The businessman, who appeared in good spirit, was further remanded by Justice Vinette Graham Allen. Melissa Silvera, 42, was murdered at her Stonehill St. Andrew home. Initial reports had indicated that Melissa died in her sleep on November 10 of natural cause, a month shy of her 8th wedding anniversary. An autopsy performed 3 weeks after her death unearthed at least 3 bullet fragments in her body. This prompted the police to upgrade the probe to a murder investigation. Silvera, who represented the People's National Party in Parliament, was arrested on January 18 and charged with murder a day later. King's Counsel Peter Champagny and Patrice Riley are representing the defendant. Newman admits he blundered in agreeing to deferral of taxi fare increase without a consultation. President of the Transport Operators Development Sustainable Services, Egerton Newman, has admitted that he blundered in agreeing to a delay in the 16% increase for bus and taxi fares without a consultation with the operators. The increase was due on April 1, but the government served a notice that the fare increase would be delayed. No timeline has been given as to when the increase will be implemented. Disgruntled bus and taxi operators are still up in arms over the government's decision to delay the fare increase. Mr. Newman says there was no consultation with the transport groups before the government proposal was accepted. Speaking with the news, Mr. Newman said he should have done things differently.
I think we've made a mistake, and it's for us to now revisit what we have done. It cannot be changed, but we are putting in things in place as we speak to address the shortfalls. We have given the minister our word. He has said, hopefully, the next financial year, if inflation stays at single digits by November of this year, we accept.
But the public transport operator Conroy Nisbeth is questioning why transport operators are being asked to bear the burden of keeping inflation down. He argued that drivers have faced constant increases at the pumps for the last 10 years, and every month when we have to service our vehicle that we use to provide the essential service of transportation, we face an increase.
Now, what we have been facing for the last 10 years is every Thursday, as it already announced, that tomorrow we will be facing an increase at the pumps, and that is what the drivers face. And every month when we have to service our vehicle that we use to provide the essential service of transportation, we face an increase. And we are saying that it is not fair to us to shoulder this burden. You know, every other business in this country reflect the price because it's about business, and once you're doing business, you're doing it for a profit. We have families, we have expenses like everyone else.
Man fatally stabbed after invading home of senior citizen. The Manchester police are probing an incident in which a man who invaded the home of a senior citizen was killed. It is alleged that the suspect broke into the home of an 80-year-old resident of Silent Hill in Manchester. During an altercation, the man was stabbed. The man ran from the house and collapsed some distance away. Colin Moore and the contract killer in constant communication ahead of wife's murder, phone data shows. Phone data evidence showed that there was continuous communication between Barbados-born businessman Omar Collymore and the alleged contract killer in the days leading up to his wife's murder. The data also showed a pattern where Collymore would often call his wife, Simone Campbell Collymore, before calling or attempting to make contact with the alleged contract killer, defendant Michael Crabos Adams, often in the space of a minute. Of note, the calls or attempted calls between the men, which started on December 29, 2017, started in the morning and continued into the night. The murder, however, occurred on January 2, but the trial had heard previously from one of the shooters, Wade Blackwood, that a first attempt was made on the wife's life before they succeeded. According to Blackwood, who previously pleaded guilty to the murder and is currently serving a life sentence, he called off the attempt after he saw Campbell Collymore and had an attack of conscience. "I was imagining, say, if my mother or sister," he had testified. Similarly, the data also revealed that the contractor killer made several calls to his co-defendants and alleged accomplices following the calls from Collymore in the days leading up to the murder. The 32-year-old woman was shot 19 times at the gate of her Stanley Terrace St. Andrew apartment on January 2, 2018. Taxi driver Winston Corey Watson, 36, who was transporting her at the time, was also killed in the attack. He sustained 5 shots, including a fatal wound to his head. Collymore, who is accused of orchestrating her murder, is currently on trial on 2 counts of murder in the Home Circuit Court, along with his alleged accomplices, Adams, Dwayne Pink, and Shaquilla Edwards. A forensic expert witness who had analyzed the phone data and the cell site data, which he received from the island's 2 main service providers during his evidence, shared the data which showed a constant pattern of communication between Collymore and the alleged contractor killer and among the alleged contractor killer and his alleged accomplices. The Deputy Superintendent of Police, who is attached to the Constabulary Forces Communication, Forensics and the Cybercrime Division as a forensic data analyst, shared that on December 29, 2017, the calls or attempted call between Collymore and Adams started at 11:42, a minute after Collymore called or attempted to call his wife. From the phone evidence presented, Collymore made or attempted several calls to his wife at different times in the afternoon, following which he made or attempted several calls to Adams, who then placed several calls to either Pink or Edwards. There were also several instances in which Adams would attempt or make a call to Collymore. Most of the calls, however, lasted only milliseconds. The witness, when asked to explain this, said the data suggests that Adams would often ring Collymore's phone for him to return the call. The expert witness also testified that Collymore would often use his local number to call his wife and used both his local and international numbers to communicate with Adams. A similar pattern of communication was also observed among the men on December 30. However, while the calls on December 29 went up to 9:56 p.m., the calls on December 30 started much earlier at 7:08 p.m. between Collymore and Adams and ended at 11:33 p.m., 2 minutes after Collymore attempted to make or made a contact with his wife. A former police officer who had extracted call record information from 2 of Collymore's cellular phones testified earlier that Collymore, in one of the voice messages sent to a man with whom he had been in constant communication in the days leading up to his wife's murder, was heard urging the person to hurry up and to do it this morning.